Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a power-packed, action knowledgeful webinar masterclass on impact of advertising and the role advertising has played and will play in the days to come in the post-COVID era. This is the first in the media masterclass series brought to you by Guru Nanak Khalsa College. And special thanks to Dr. Simran Chawla Madam for bringing this all together. My name is Dr. Samir Karkhanis and I represent the Yangpo Executive Education Group. Yeah. And today we have a fantastic speaker, a thought leader, a veteran in the media industry, Mr. Yesudas, whom I will be introducing in a while. But before that, Dr. Simran Madam, will you please take over and give your opening remarks? So, friends, Dr. Simran is again a very sought after academician, very senior person in the academics industry and HOD at the Guru Nanak Khalsa College in Mumbai, and very friendly, and lot of people and the students really look up to her. So madam, you can say a few words and then I will come again.
Dr. Samir, I don't know, I'm very short of words now for that very wonderful introduction that you have given. Before I begin on the topic, I would like to really give my special thanks to Dr. Samir for taking in my request and curating this entire session for us. Dr. Samir, thank you so much. The thanks that I owe to you will never be enough. And also saying that your hashtag, which says stay relevant, has actually, it's very intriguing, and it's very, how should I say, motivating and inspiring also, when I say that, yes, stay relevant means that you need to adapt yourself to changing situations, changing circumstances, and always be ready to meet challenges, whatever comes in your way. And keeping that as the premise of this webinar, I would like to introduce to all the registered participants of this webinar that we were never expecting this pandemic to hit us in India in this form. Of course, we were very relaxed until March, thinking that yes, it will not happen to us what happened to China or to Italy or countries like that. It will not happen to us. But today it is very much on our face. And as governments and other agencies, organizations rally up to fight this pandemic, we need to understand that how is it affecting the economy, how is it affecting our social setup, how is it affecting so many other things. And while it is affecting so many of these things, one of the major roles now that advertising will have to play even more importantly than it was in the past. And that is what we need to discuss, that how this situation can be a wonderful opportunity for our youngsters who wish to join this field in the future, who are preparing and learning to work in this field. So how this time, this pandemic is going to change the scenario, and how we need to be prepared and geared for it, because things are not going to remain the same. The advertising media plans will change, and they are changing. We will move even more, and our dependence on virtual media will become even more. And how social distancing is creating a new dependability on virtual media, how we are becoming more and more users of the social media, and how news, there is a lot of role that advertising will have to play in all these areas. So this is yes, it is going to be an opportunity, and how we need to be geared up for this opportunity is what we will have our veteran Mr. Yesudas talking to us. And I'm very glad that Mr. Yesudas has agreed, of course, on the request of Dr. Samir. So without wasting further time, let us hear it from the expert himself. So Dr. Samir, over to you.
Yes.
Let us just introduce Dr. Yesudas on the platform.
Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Simran. Thank you very much for giving this overview of how things are unfolding now. And now we have the man for the day, Mr. Yesudas, who is a media veteran, more than 2 decades of experience and very illustrative career in the fields of media, advertising, and branding. somebody who started as a management trainee, and just a small span of 12 years became the CEO and managing director of one of India's leading media groups, and he's worked across companies like Lintas, the Grey Group, Densu. And the beauty with Yesudas is he's moved from the conventional, traditional media advertising to a very high-end premium world of digital AI, ML content, which everybody today talks about content. I must tell you, friends, Yesudas is the one. If you now read your brand equity and this kind of media and advertising magazines, he is the person in Economic Times brand equity where you see all the very thought-provoking columns and content in terms of the trends in media. His current organization, Y&A Transformation, again works with companies and agencies. So he has the exposure of both sides on how to really now transform strategies. Advertising is just a small part, friends, of what you see on the television or what you see on YouTube or Facebook. But there is a lot of thought, a lot of strategy, a lot of research which Yesudas and his team does in India. And then ultimately you see some kind of content which is coming up, which is very relevant. So, and also I must mention, he is one of India's top cyclists, marathoners, and he's a sports freak. He's kept with the times and truly represents the thought of staying relevant in changing times. So, Yesudas, all over to you. Also, let me tell you, this audience is a combination of students from undergraduate, graduate, and postgraduate from Khalsa College, and they have invited people from across the country. We have a lot of faculty members and decision makers who are a part of this program today. So, Mr. Yesudas, over to you. The format will be, you can have your opening 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes of talks, and then we can take questions. Some questions we have with us from Yangpo Executive Education. Also, we will allow our participants and registered members also to come live and ask you questions. Yeah, so over to you, Yesudas. You'll have to unmute yourself, Yesudas.
Thank you very much, Samir. I really appreciate that. And thank you, Simran. Thank you for having me. Good afternoon, friends. And as I understand from Samir that I'll actually keep my video off to just save the bandwidth. I understand that it's a mix of faculties and students. So what I'll actually try and do, like Samir said, is to give a little bit of perspective to begin the conversation. Then rather than me kind of preaching or saying something, I think it'll be more productive that we open it up to a conversation. Samir,
Sure.
And take Q&As from the audience so that it can be a kind of a two-way interaction. So I won't take 20 minutes or whatever. Probably I'll just give a little bit of a perspective. Samira's, very generously asked in terms of staying relevant and so on and so forth. So I currently just, those who are interested in knowing, I run a business transformation company now. So when we look at business transformation, the difference that normally we see is that people talk about transformation and there is this whole tendency of putting things upside down. So just to give an example, we were talking to an insurance client of ours actually, a couple of months back, and there's this whole conversation that took place about transformation, and the guy actually said, the client actually said, "Oh, we fully transformed. There's nothing that you can actually tell us about transformation. We are fully transformed." So our simple question to the client was that, how much of your business come today directly to you, not through the agents and, directly consumer dealing with you? So he said about 3% of our business. So we said, where are we really transformed it? So most people actually, go in the disbelief that, when you automate your processes internally, you transform digitally. That's not digital transformation. So there is a big difference between process automation and digital transformation. So what the client was talking about is automating the processes. Nothing really happens on a piece of paper for them. Everything happens on a computer screen, which is about process automation. But what we were talking about, digital transformation. So then the client actually asked us, can you describe transformation for us? So in a simplistic way, we said transformation is about cutting the layers between you and your customers. So if you had 15 layers to reach your customers, 1 year ago, and you cut that down effectively, you got 5 layers now, you're transforming. But if your layers are exactly the same, you really haven't transformed at all. Correct? So that to us is actually the meaning of transformation. The unfortunate truth that we are all kind of dealing with today, and we will move on to the topic of the subject now, in the pandemic, and what really advertising is doing, etc. But the unfortunate truth that we are all dealing with is that marketeers don't understand customers. Period. I mean, that's I mean, it can sound very controversial, but that's actually the truth. And we will talk about this, in a bit detail as we really go along. But just to kind of give you a perspective of what we're dealing with today, and all of us, of course, know this as well, Ajay, right? We're seeing it and we're experiencing it. It's all around us. The way we are consuming content and we are consuming media and M&E, media and entertainment, have significantly been altered. All of us are living our lives online today. As a result, what we are seeing is certain segments of TV, etc., have seen a huge surge, while the movie theaters, theme park, sporting events, or any other events that we used to consume out of home have taken a complete beating. We've also seen news about layoffs. People are being asked to go, salaries being cut in the M&E sector, largely resulting in from the revenue loss. So obviously, people don't have money; the revenues are not coming in. So the next port of call for people is to cut the cost. So letting people go, cutting salaries, etc. That brings us to broadly, there are many ancillary avenues, but broadly there are 4 different segments in which the M&E sector makes money. One is subscription, which I'm sure all of you really know what subscription is. Second is sponsorship. Third is advertising, and fourth is a ticket sales, the gate collection. So these are the four broad segments in which money is being made, and all of them have taken a beating in the last 2-3 months. There also have been predictions about, like Simran ma'am spoke about, virtual and digital, and everything is going to move to digital, etc. There have been predictions that by 2023, India will have 1 billion internet users, which will eventually may still happen. But there is also this whole conversation that's going on between India and Bharat. I'm sure all of us know that, right? The Metro India and the tier 3 and tier 3, which is the Bharat. And most consumption, I mean, if you look at content consumption on digital, I mean, I was looking at some numbers in the last year. The vernacular consumption grew more than 90%, while English consumption grew only about 8 or 9% actually. So there is a huge amount of content being consumed in the vernacular languages. And as a result of which, I was reading this article about premium marketeers. So Tissot, as a watch company, was talking about the fact that 30% of their revenue was coming in from tier 3 and tier 3, 2 and 3 towns. So which obviously means there was a huge consumption happening as well, beyond the metro cities. But the challenge now is going to be, we've seen all these migrant issues and all of that's kind of taking place in the smaller towns. So that market, which was boosting consumption, is also going to be very careful about the good to have versus the must have. So so there is a certain amount of sanity that will come in, and spending and consumption on so on and so forth. So growth will perhaps become a question even in that part of the country which was actually consuming all this while. And if you read up the news in the last couple of weeks, and government has asked the real estate developers to cut prices. Automobile industry, which is supposed to be the torch bearer for the economy, has also taken a bad hit. So if you look at from services to product to infrastructure, the impact is felt all around. And in my personal prediction, the impact is going to continue for a few more months, which will all be dependent on the ability for our country to flatten the curve. All of us, obviously, all of you, I'm sure, know about the terms flattening the curve. Yesterday I saw a picture. I don't know whether it's a correct picture or not, but I saw a picture of marine drive in Mumbai, where thousands of people were on Marine Drive and taking walk, and there were social distancing norms being maintained, etc. So what's actually happening is that we're all kind of birds, locked up in the cage all this while, and the next opportunity we are kind of getting out on the street, and the infection rate is spiking. We're all kind of seeing that as well. So one of the things which will be critical, I think, for all of us, which is something that that I definitely want to say. While I also want to, we spoke about the growth and issues, etc. While I also want to actually, I'm an eternal optimist. So I also want to say that, when I look at the numbers and our financial stability and our robust, banking ecosystem, and also the government's, efforts to kind of contain even the fiscal deficit. In spite of all this, they are still trying to contain the fiscal deficit. With all that, I have no doubt that India will emerge and go back on the growth trajectory. It'll bounce back. It'll be a matter of time, but it'll bounce back. But unfortunately, what will not be right for us, like this marine pitch that I was talking, what will not be right for us is to, just suddenly get back to where it all ended. That will be a sad thing for all of us and even for the country. We've gone through a unprecedented event, which our children are going to be reading in the history textbook in time to come. But if we don't take learnings from these and change some of the things, when I say transformation, as a transformation consultant, I said transformation begins with you. So if you go to a client and the client CEO, so when we talk to a client, we say, okay, customer centricity. Most brands are now saying we need to be customer centric. Unfortunately, what they do is set up a customer centricity department, which becomes another silo. So we tell the clients that if the CEO of the company and the person who opens a door for people who walk into the office are both not customer centric, the company cannot be a customer centric organization. So the culture in the companies need to change, which obviously means that it needs to be owned by people. Unless people own, the culture will not change at all. So our culture can only be changed when we own it. So we say transformation actually begins with you. And at this point, I'm reminded of a beautiful quote by a gentleman called Edward Everett Hale. Edward Everett Hale is an American historian and an author who lived between 1822 and 1909, if I'm not mistaken. He actually says something beautiful. I mean, I keep quoting that in my social media, like Samir is saying. If you look at my LinkedIn, I have some quotes on that. I have some, philosophy on this as well. So he said, I'm the only one, but I'm still the one. I cannot do everything, but I still can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do something that I can do. Beautiful indeed, isn't it? So transformation begins with each of us. Let's not get back to where it all ended. Let's pick up certain new learnings, and we will talk about how some of the new things can actually emerge in advertising as we really go along. So with that, let me wish you an absolutely fantastic lives ahead, each of you, as you pick up your own learnings and convert them into opportunities. With that, I will now hand you over to Samir so that we can open up the session for question, answers, and conversations.
Sure. So thank you, Yesudas, to give a really overall, very macro perspective of how things are going to unfold and where we stand today. Now, since these are most of them are students here who are now career aspirants, there are questions which are coming in. What actually now a graduating student should do who wants to make a career in advertising, branding, media? Is there still merit to be in these fields, and how they are unfolding? You can switch on the camera now, Yesudas, so that it is getting recorded for academic purpose also. And you are with, yeah.
Quite an interesting question, actually.
Yeah, what do youngsters do now?
Yeah, quite an interesting question. So I can only tell the youngsters that advertising is not going to die ever.
Okay.
So all of you can aspire to be a career in advertising. As long as products are in the world, as long as people need to market, advertising is not going to end ever. But advertising may take a different shape. So if you really ask me what are the career opportunities that will actually emerge, I would say there are three. Samir spoke a lot about content. So I would say that content is a very, very, very big opportunity that's emerging. So it could mean from writing to directing to scripting to editing to graphics and all of the opportunities that is to do with content. Content obviously also kind of getting technology embedded in. Samir spoke about AI and ML, etc. So technology will coming into content. That's another big opportunity on content. The second opportunity is technology. Tech is really emerging. So we are talking about micro personalization of advertising, for example, customer connect. So if Samir and I am watching a YouTube video, what he could be seeing would be very different from what I could be seeing at the same time, exactly the same time, because his likes and dislikes are different. So it's actually about personalization. So technology will come into effect on that. We are obviously talking about, we're also hearing about blockchains being built. So there is this whole transparency that is part of advertising, particularly on digital. So some of you all, how digital works also would have heard about the fact that, there are bots clicking and customers are paying for that. Click farms are, emerging and people are actually not paying for humans and people are paying for bots to, buy that media, etc. So the transparency is coming as an issue. So technology will come in, like, for example, somebody's talking about building a blockchain technology to kind of, weed away all the transparency issues and so on and so forth. So content is the first one. Technology is the next one. And the third important, aspect that will emerge from a job and career opportunity will be data, which is the third one. So data, particularly the first party data. And we will talk about that a little later. And in fact, like Samir was saying, I've written an article in Economic and Brand Equity about that. So I'll tell you what I really mean by data as we really go along. So in terms of career opportunity, broadly, I think I would sum that the three that if you can focus on, which is content, all to do with content, which, writing to creation to directing to editing to graphics to all that is a great opportunity because content is going to kind of, thrive now as we really go along, particularly if you're talking about 1 billion consumers on digital, etc. All of the billion consumers are going to consume something on digital. So the content is going to be, like they say, the king. And then technology, and third will be data.
So just to take you one step back, content, technology, data, that we understood now what you are trying to say. But, usually the students who are now in this particular session are also, the BMS, BMM, BCom and early graduates, So they usually are less on the technology part and more on, the client servicing, advertising, because their understanding of the media world is on that. So if you can throw some light now, what are the various aspects in this world of media entertainment, and with COVID impacts, what happens to those roles and what opportunities emerge there, So for a normally a person, it is usually, filmmaking or client servicing. So, that also is a huge audience where they will be looking for employment and careers and courses to be done in that area.
I get that actually.
Yeah.
But, while, in my personal opinion, I can be challenged on this actually, Samir. My personal opinion is that the agents are kind of moving away from everything, right? So a distribution agent, or if you talk about all the agents, like an insurance agent, you're buying insurance online directly, etc. So agents per se will have lesser importance as a role that you will end up paying, correct?
Okay, because technology will take over.
Yeah, so when you talk about a client servicing person, to my mind, is an agent, right? He doesn't have a responsibility, but he's becoming a channel between what's happening internally and to the client. But on the other hand, this client servicing person has an ability on technology, for example, or on content, or on data. Any specialized opportunity that emerges, his career will actually thrive in a much better manner rather than just being a facilitator of things, the client and the company.
Okay, so basically you are trying to say now the days of agents or coordinators, either as agencies or as employees, as client servicing or mediators, are going to reduce because technology will take over. So if somebody still feels to do a business role like a client servicing, he needs to add on some more skills, which could be digital or technology or understanding of creative. Am I right on that?
Absolutely correct. Or even, the other opportunity that will also emerge is, so I keep talking about, when I talk to students or when I interact with people, I keep talking about this whole, this whole cognitive and intuitive with the way the brain is structured, right? So
Okay.
some of us obviously know the way, we say that the emotional part of the brain is where decisions are taken place. So that's the intuitive part of the brain. And then the cognitive part of the brain where all the numbers and data, everything really goes in, right? So
Okay.
the other opportunity that could actually emerge is insight building. In the
Okay.
earlier in the day in advertising summit, you would also know that we used to go out and do researches, to actually
Yes.
consumers. Do you like this particular film? What do you think about it, etc.? Focus groups and research and so on and so forth, right? So usually the way it happened then, and I am calling it out, is that there is a hypothesis that you build, then you go to the customers to validate this. So what does that really mean? You really want the customers to tell you something, right? Oh, the exactly way that I want it. So you have a closed funnel approach in terms of research, making consumers say what you want to hear, and then that actually becomes the insight. But the opportunity today that exists is for you to start building human insights, which are not this transactional research driven insights, but human insight. So for example, a person who building an application, a mobile application, or person who's looking at, let's just, for a better understanding, let me just try and phrase it as an advertising related opportunity. We spoke about automobile as a business, automobile as an industry. Let's talk about cars today, right? Now most cars are being parked for the last 2 months without a movement. Correct. And
Yes.
all those cars, when they get out on the street, now needs a servicing, needs some kind of an engine checkup or body checkup or tire checkup or whatever, right? And what are car companies doing? They're all sending you advertising messages where, okay, we have a no contact delivery system. I'm not interested, right? So if I'm a car owner, the opportunity for you to intuitively deal with me, to make me reinforce my belief in your brand, is to deal with me in a different way, right? That's insight. So how would you kind of help build this insights, which obviously means that you need to kind of put yourself through some insight building courses or workshops, or how do
Yes.
you draw those kind of human insights? Just to give you another example, so the reason why I'm quoting examples is that this will actually make it more productive for the students particularly. So working with this client who's in the garment business. So one of the challenges the client faced is that, garments, we want fashion designers. So, we are unable to get the new age millennial fashion designers because we are a legacy company. So what should we do? So we said that, there was this whole brainstorm that happened, and agencies were the part of that, etc. We were the consultant. We were also part of the we had a seat on the table. So one of the suggestions that came in, we must now go to Instagram to advertise. Instagram is where all the millennials are. We must go to Instagram to advertise. That we are looking for millennial designers, etc. We'll get some good traction. So we say Instagram is a good channel. So look at an insight building opportunity. Instagram is a good channel, but the content that goes into Instagram is what will actually make people, look at you. So
Yes.
we said, what is the biggest insight that we have on this millennial, animal, the customer? So lots of insights that came in. We said, yeah, look at a human insight. That I look at my daughter, who's a millennial. She puts some content up on Insta, whatever, and she's sitting with the phone to figure out how many people have responded, liked, disliked, and so on and so forth, real time, right? So they're a feedback-driven consumer. If they don't get a feedback, they get upset. Correct. And what do you do as an organization? You hire them, you put them in a corner in the organization, and you give them a feedback once a year through an appraisal process. So we said, that does that really work? Your appraisal process of once a year feedback is probably not working. So that's the insight. We then actually changed the whole HR culture in that organization, spoke about that, and that client got 3,000 plus applications, and they've actually picked up 11 people out of that. So
Wow. Wow.
it's actually about relooking at an opportunity in a very different way, which is about insight. So even when you're building a client servicing role, for example, so my suggestion to the students is that don't become a generalist.
Absolutely. I always have been propagating this.
Become a
You know?
specialist. Generalists
Yes.
have lesser and lesser importance as you go along, because generalists, unless you really want to kind of understand a lot of everything, which is actually going to be difficult at this stage. So become a specialist rather than a generalist.
Also, there is one counter view, which I would like to tell the
Dr.
audience
Sameer,
here. Yes, madam.
allow me in.
Oh, yeah, please. You would.
Dr. Sameer, I would just want to. So I was listening to Mr. Yesudas and exactly thinking on the same lines before he was speaking. So I just want to ask you, Yesudas sir, is that when you say that don't be a generalist and develop your own niche. So my question on behalf of my kids, my students, would be that okay, we are all doing a syllabus which is prescribed by the university. We will all be graduating, doing the same set of subjects, doing the same set of training. Now, how do you earn that niche for yourself? What is it that, say, for example, let's say that the future forward in advertising is technology driven. In fact, for all industry, it is going to be technology driven. So, how is it that the student equips herself with technology, which is not a part of the syllabus as on date? So what kind or where to look for that? Where to look for training on that kind of technology to equip and to create a niche for themselves? So if you could answer that for most of my students, Yesudas sir, it will be really very great.
Yeah, good question. Very good question, in fact. So one of the things that I interestingly actually keep telling people is that there is this whole thing about employment that we really go with, right? Employment and employment opportunities and so on and so forth. And I heard a client, a very large respectable client in the country, I won't name him, the CEO of the company actually said that 70% of graduates, engineering graduates coming out of various engineering colleges today are not fit for employment. And I'm just being absolutely emphatic. I mean, don't get me wrong, because I have to actually state this fact as fact. Not fit for employment. So what does that really mean? Really, I mean, obviously, like you said, ma'am, that our system of education is designed for a particular age. So what I would personally think what universities or colleges can really do is to also have some amount of practical stuff to add to the lives of students. So what I really mean is that there is this whole startup ecosystem that's getting developed in the country, right? The Adult Incubation Center, which is AIC. AIC is in fact working with some of the universities and colleges in kind of developing the future thinkers and people who think slightly differently, etc. So I think the ability for colleges and universities to actually figure out their non-conformist students, their dissenters, or the people who think differently, so that faculty obviously will need a little bit of a training for them to kind of build that insight, to figure out who could be that group of students who I can pull out and actually can start putting them. So in addition to the textbook or in addition to the curriculum that they really go through, if the college or universities can actually develop something which is like a practical thing, like an innovation lab that you develop, get people to work, get the corporates part of that, get startups part of that, get them to come and challenge them, contribute them, give a brief to people. So just imagine if Khalsa were to open up a module and say that we've got some brilliant writers in the college and we want them to get real life challenges in writing. So can we create a program with Sameer, for example, or I can actually help you with that. So that, okay, how do we now go to corporates and ask corporates to give us a brief of a real challenge they're faced with, so that my students can actually start writing on the brief. And if it's a convincing story that they produce, the corporates can pick that up actually. So it's actually about, developing the students like on the go, which means that the college or the university is also kind of contributing to employability, not only employment. That's from the university perspective. Now, from the students' perspective, there is a lot that is, I mean, all of you guys who've kind of today gone through the Unacademy or the Khan Academy or whatever, you'd obviously know there are brilliant modules available online today. Whether you want to become a web designer, whether you want to become a graphic designer, whether you want to kind of get together with other students and challenge yourself, etc. There are so much of opportunity that's available online, and some of them are actually free of cost, and some of them are obviously paid versions, and so on and so forth. So on both sides, I think if you're able to, so the students cannot sit and say, oh, my university now must make me employable, so I'm just going to keep quiet and listen. And if they don't make me employable, obviously, I don't really care. Similarly, at the same time, the students can actually come forward and say, this is the interest that I have. I have an interest in producing, I have an interest in writing. So, I have these opportunities, for me to figure out. And I'm actually quite surprised and pleasantly surprised that I get students writing to me on my LinkedIn. They see that, they actually pick up the phone, they write, and they say that, oh, sir, we blah, 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 we'd like to work with you, is there an opportunity? There are companies who are kind of interning now, people who are getting
online.
interned. So all those opportunities really exist in the real world. So I think it is both colleges and universities and the students, if they kind of, like I said, that take it upon themselves, there is a very, very big opportunity that's emerging in front of us to make these students far, far more employable and far more productive compared to the way they just would graduate, without that employability quotient.
Yesudas sir, thank you for answering that question with so much insight and with with the deep elements that you have added your own signature kind of advice. Just to add to what you said is that we have at Khalsa College and the Department of BMM and BMS, we have already developed certain courses which we do at the end of every semester, which a student needs to enroll, and we call it Instagram sessions. So it is a 30-hour training, and every semester we have a new topic where students learn some new skills which will be required of them when they step out of college. So we at Khalsa College necessarily believe, at least at the Department of BMS and BMM that I can talk about, we believe that we will not dig the well when we are thirsty. Okay, so we have preempted, and we have made our students, we kind of strive to make our students employable, as you just said, employability. And I would also like to mention here, of course, this is not a scripted session, so as and when whatever I remember, I'm just saying, we are the only college in Mumbai where Text 100, it's a PR agency, and they hire students only and only from Khalsa College, just because they found the employability skills of our students due to all these trainings. So they hire only and only at Khalsa College. So this is one of the I would like to, even if it is blowing my trumpet, I would like to say that yes, this is a feather in the cap of Khalsa College, that we have thought about the employability of students. But going forward, like you said, that we will definitely connect with you, Yesudas sir, and you will find us behind you, persistently behind you for getting the corporate real life projects. As I understand what you mentioned, that we can have real life projects where students can be trained and their skills can be honed, and then later on they can be picked up by the industry itself. So we have the mandatory internship program also, as you mentioned. So we are doing all of that. Beyond that, sir, do you think that there is something that we can do for our students so that they are, I think might be a little difficult, but something like, if something which is a little more kind of massly applicable. I understand I'm talking something very contradictory in the age of micro customization and mini micro customization, but then definitely, is there something that we can still, something more that we can do so that the students are more trained, more employable?
So I think, ma'am, firstly, many congratulations on the fact that Khalsa is doing all this, and also the fact that the fact that the PR, you spoke about the fact that they only pick up from Khalsa. Absolute, huge compliments on that, actually. But to answer your question, I personally would advise you not to do this in a, any of this in a mass scale. Like you yourself said, that personalization and so on and so forth. So I would actually advise you to create clusters of students. So if you put 100 students in a class and talk to them about writing, for example, there will be only 4 of them who would have a aptitude to writing or an ability to write, and the other 96 of them are obviously going to be bored with that, but
Yes.
their interest lies somewhere else. So I think the ability for you to understand your students, from building, from looking at what is the future course for them, or figuring out some way in which you can actually judge their aptitude, and creating clusters out of that, and those clusters then really working with real life problems and what have you, would actually be far more beneficial to you as a college and for the students. So that would be my submission. And if there is any way in which I can work with you to kind of help you cluster that, and help look at the students, and look at their aptitude and create the clusters, and which corporates can we go to, etc., I would be more than happy to kind of work with you on this.
Great. Great. In fact, also just to add
Sir,
here,
thank you so much. There are a few students there are a few participants who have written some questions in the chat. So
yes,
if we
yes,
can take those questions also.
yeah,
Why not?
yeah. So I'm going to go through that questions now. Yeah. So Yesudas, most of the questions which are coming are, what is the future of digital? What courses should they take post graduation? Or what is the future of advertising, and what course? So a lot of questions are coming on, what courses they should do. So any idea on or suggestion, like just to add my 2 cents on that, my personal view is ki first you understand the entire spectrum. Students, you have to understand the entire spectrum of media, advertising, branding, event management, digital marketing, sports management, content, data, celebrity endorsement. Understand this as a overall, see where your interest lies. So what will happen, you will do one thing, then tomorrow you'll do another thing, and you'll get confused. The idea is go for an integrated post-graduation program from wherever place you like, whether it is online, it is physical classroom program, but go through the entire journey for a period of 1 year. This could be done by taking courses, or this could be done by doing small internships. You have to write to companies that you want to intern, and maybe you want to intern free. But write to companies, go through these 8-10 aspects of media and entertainment. You will understand what your calling is, because today you will feel creativity and advertising is very glamorous, but that may not be the case. So many a times you need counseling. Lot of free websites are available which give you counseling. Write for companies for internship. Look at integrated post graduation programs from big universities and colleges. Khalsa college does a lot of stuff on that. Because unless you are not professionally qualified, industry is not going to look at you in the days to come. So Yesudas, your views on that, what actually they should qualify themselves with, because jobs are going to be difficult now.
I completely buy that view. I mean, that's exactly my view as well, Samir. It's very difficult to actually tell students, okay, advertising, you should do this particular course today, right? When in the commerce stream in the good old days, they were advertising as a subject actually that some of us obviously have learned. But today, advertising per se, in the good old way in advertising has been thought through, is dead. And when I'm meaning is dead, is actually dead, because advertising was thought through a philosophy earlier, based on the fact that customers, first you create an awareness in the customer's mind, then they start preferring you, then they consider you, then they buy you. Correct? So that's the linear way a customer journey progressed. But the linear process is completely gone out of the window. There is nothing, right? You look at yourselves as consumers. You see something on a Facebook or Insta, and if you like it, you actually click and you buy it, or you probably interact with it or whatever, right? So your ability to click and buy or click and interact has kind of taken the whole essence out of that whole linear prescribed journey in a very, very different way. So there's no linear journey that exists today, right? So it's actually about the ability for you to excite consumers with something that you really have. And consumers are very, very smart today, right? I mean, you can't be, you yourself know it as consumers, when you sit in front of a screen and you see, that is somebody, oh, this guy is trying to con me, right? So I don't want to obviously look at that. And if you lost that brand once, and if the trust is not built, or you have an interaction with the brand which there is a friction that the brand is creating with you, you probably lost that brand has lost the consumer forever. So the way in which, advertising, whether it's about creating authenticity or building trust, or walking the consumers through a particular journey with all frictions, all that is the new age of advertising. And like Madam Simran was saying sometime back about personalization, right? It's about micro personalization. Like I said, we could all be watching the same content on Facebook, sitting across each other with the, with obviously social distancing, etc. And seeing different contents exactly on the same page of Facebook, actually. So therefore, like Dr. Samir said, it's important for each of you to figure out your area of interest. Once you figure out the area of interest, there are, if I tell you, there are about 20,000 courses in advertising, actually. It's difficult for me to kind of list down all of them today.
We can help on that, to guide them what are the courses across the country.
Once you figure out your interest area, Dr. Samir anyway runs that, consulting company, actually, and I can of course join him and help, etc. in this, by all means. We can then guide you to pick up, okay, what is it that would suit you, and therefore where is it available.
Yes, that's the idea. Many times people learn very well online, so they may be guided towards online programs. Simran Madam, can I take some questions live so that I can request the participants to raise their hands and then they can ask us live? Simran Madam? Okay, friends, those who want to ask so friends, those who want to ask a question, just raise your hand down and I will take you live. Yeah, we can take few live questions now. Yeah, raise your hands, friends. There is a button down to raise hands.
Please do so.
Yes. Friends, raise your hands. We will take you live. Yes, so I can see Arvind. Arvind, I'm taking you live, Arvind. Okay, ask your question. Arvind. Unmute yourself, Arvind, and ask your question if you have one. Arvind. I don't think he's able to answer. I will go to the next one. Monu Lal Rajak. Monu, ask your question. Okay, Venu is there. Venu? Friends, when you want to ask a question, you have to unmute yourself. See, there is a button there down on the left-hand side to unmute. Do that. Can't hear you. Hello. Okay, I think I will read the questions. Just type it in the Q&A session and I'll read your question. Yeah. Okay, there is one. Vedant. Vedant, ask your question. Vedant.
What do you say?
No, I don't think they are able to understand. Let me just read it out. So, Yesu, there is a question on what are the qualities and skills required for students to build in his career in the advertising sector, as every student unique. So are there some, in your experience in the past, have you seen there are some sectors which are some skill sets which you require really in the world of advertising and media? What kind of people who really make it in this industry?
There are simply two skill sets, Samir, which you and me have been talking about as well in the past. In my opinion, the skill sets that's required, these are cognitive, and these are intuitive skill set, not cognitive skill set at all. Cognitive skill sets is on data and building and so on and so forth, actually, right?
Okay.
There are only two in my opinion. One is imagination, the other one is curiosity.
Okay.
These are only two intuitive skill sets that's required in the field of advertising,
Okay.
particularly in the field of brand customer connection. You
Yes.
have to be able to reimagine it. You got to, but your ability to have an imagination of what is
Okay.
particularly when we spoke about the government example or whatever, it's actually about imagining something slightly differently, right?
Okay.
And also, for example, I stated this actually. I was talking to a group of students the other day, and there was this whole conversation about, you can type on this web URL to find out. So I asked them, okay, what is URL? I mean, most in the room didn't even know what is URL actually, right? So when you
So
hear
true.
terminologies, don't pick up the terminologies and use the terminology without understanding what that really means. So pay a little bit of, in-depth analysis on whatever that you really want to, it's like one of the reasons why we see that videos are getting spread out, even communal violence and so on and so forth, right? We get something, we just press a button and share it without really thinking. So my only submission and request to the student community is to just pause a little, think a little bit, and then take the action. When somebody is saying programmatic advertising, when jargons are being thrown around, it's very good for you to kind of repeat the jargon, but understand what the jargon is first before you.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Also, many students, youngsters are interested and keen, to make a career in event management, because I'm seeing that question coming. So they want to know what is the future of event management or sports management in the coming time, because now everything is shut down. So still should they have that dream of getting into events?
Yeah, so the way in which events are conducted will change. The format will change, which is why there is a lot of reimagination which is required, particularly for the event business. Events will still, I mean, what we are doing currently is an event. This event would have been in a conference room,
Yes.
probably 3 months back, but it's an event at the end of it, right? Tomorrow there could be a sponsorship on this event. There could be a client coming in saying that, okay, I want to be part of that ecosystem to figure out who are the best 3 students who ask best questions. I want to award them with something. All that is part of an event actually, right? So the
Sure.
format in which an event is conducted will change, but the events are still going to continue.
Oh,
The all kind of events. I mean, obviously, it's not just going to die out. So
sure.
therefore, imagination of how it's going to be conducted, and therefore, how can you also make it revenue driven? Because at the end of it, all the events, the reason why event companies do it, they make money out of the events, right? I mean, unless you make money, there's no business. So Samir needs to now figure out how is he going to make money out of these events actually, as we really go along,
So
right?
true. So true. So, in fact, friends, I would like to add here also, the composition of events is changing. But as human beings, we will always like to go and see a cricket match or a pro kabaddi league or attend a wedding or go for a film fair show. So events, or you want to go for a rock show at the Mahalakshmi racecourse. So that will happen. Maybe it may take a year or so, but as you are young students, it is time for you to prepare to get into that industries, because this event industry also requires a lot of science, technical knowledges, branding, marketing. You need to learn all that. So when the industry opens up, you are ready to be a part of the industry. So no industry is dying. That is for sure. It will change its format. So that is the way. So Yesudas, there is one more again question, on
Hello.
which, yes, who is it?
This
Arvind.
is
Arvind
Arvind. Yeah.
asks.
Yeah, I've
Yeah, go
been
ahead, Arvind.
searching. Yeah, I've been in the advertising for last 35, 40 years and going into the institutes to teach advertising.
Mm-hmm.
So my language is visual language, actually. Now, at this point of view, I think we all have become students.
So
Let us
true.
let us accept the fact that we have all become students. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can. Go ahead with your
Yeah.
question, sir. Go ahead with
So
your question, sir.
if we want to adopt the technology, then I think the education system itself has to be adopted to encourage the technology at first place. My experience in, I will not name the colleges, of course, but then when I come from JU School of Art, where we have
Oh,
learned the course for 5 years, and that has to be compressed in say 3 or 4 months in the college. at this juncture, what is the technology going to play the role within those 3 or 4 months? That is important fact, because colleges, they have to, I think, be well equipped at first place to encourage the student for the technology. Not every student cannot be bright. It's
Yeah. So your question is, how do you use technology to enable and facilitate learning for students? Right?
That's right.
That is the
That's
question.
right. That's right.
Yesudas, can I answer this?
Yeah, please go ahead. Sir.
Yeah. Sir, currently, the universities work in a particular syllabus, and the content and syllabus also is rapidly changing. In fact, for the BMM curriculum, lot of changes have come and will be now implemented in this upcoming batch, and there is lot of emphasis given. I have seen the syllabuses for BMM now. Lot of emphasis is given on digital technology, analytics, those kind of subjects will be incorporated. Plus, progressive colleges like Khalsa College and all, they have a lot of visiting faculty coming in. They also try to integrate online programs which are very high quality on technology, very user friendly to understand, that are getting implemented. Also, different kind of students consume different kind of knowledge and programs. A BMM, BMS, BCom student may not be that hardcore technology, analytics, data science person, but he is very easily able to learn a online digital marketing program from NMIMS online. In 1 year, in a 60,000 rupee program, he does a full-fledged digital marketing program and is employable. We market that program from NMIMS. So there are different programs for current students, and as you rightly said, the working executive community also needs to relearn to stay relevant. So
right.
Already institutions now are taking care on this part, how, because universities work slow, so colleges and progressive people like Dr. Simran are already taking efforts to have that 30-hour modules incorporated in the students. So it will take time. Also, students have become very, very smart now. They consume a lot of programs on the Udemy, Coursera, Harvard Business School online. Students go there and acquire knowledge. So they cannot expect, as a student also, one can't expect everything university will give and my college will give, then the college will give me internship and the college will give me job. That's not possible. It's an open source learning model which has emerged now.
Yeah. At first place, here I would like to, congratulate Simran ma'am, because, she has always been after students and techno-savvy. And the way she has been encouraged, at first place, Khalsa College takes extra care of the students. Because I go there as a visiting faculty. For the last 2 years, I've been there. And I think Khalsa is doing a great job. After classes also, they are encouraging students for their their specific specialty. They make, I tell them that just don't go through the syllabus. Search for yourself within your, which will definitely give you different dimensions altogether to look at.
Sure. No, sir, appreciate, and we are really aware about the work we are doing.
Yes.
Arvind sir, thank you for the very kind words. Well, what Arvind sir just expressed about technology, prior to the pandemic, colleges were, of course, procrastinating because it is a huge cost. But right now, in this current situation, and UGC is also going to bring about reforms in the way the syllabus has to be delivered and the teaching learning that will have to be delivered, maintaining the social distancing. So we will have to be teaching on virtual platforms, and that is going to be inevitable. Yes. So now every college, irrespective of their status, size, will have to incorporate this. In fact, today morning I was in a Google Meet with our principal, and we were discussing that how do we conduct online exams, which will require a lot of investment in technology. But of course, all of that has
will happen.
Need of the hour, and we are exploring it. So that will happen. That will happen, and it will happen in this year itself. I'm glad that we will have no other choice than to deliver it that way.
Yes, so true. I'll take the next question from the students. Yeah. So, Yesudas, I'm compressing a few questions together. So there are questions that I'm a photographer, videographer, or I want to do an event. So the question basically is, what is the future for, entrepreneurship in the media and advertising business, irrespective of what you're doing. You could be an event manager, you could be a DJ, you could be a cinematographer. So how does because a lot of youngsters are with the craze of startups and entrepreneurship. So some views on that, Yesudas?
See, my good question. My personal view on this is that, much like a beautiful quote that I was reading, that there's an entrepreneur sitting in all of us, correct? It's only some people get the opportunity to unleash that, thing, and others don't get it. And people who don't get it, probably don't even know that they had it in them, correct? So there isn't the best time in India to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
But being an entrepreneur, again, I want to add a qualifier to that. Being an entrepreneur, again, like the URL and programmatic thing that I was talking about, being an entrepreneur because of a herd mentality, because everybody is doing it, so therefore I must do it, you're going to fail. You're actually going to eventually fail. You will do, so if you look at startups, in India, if you look at a track record of startups that is succeeded, there are only two reasons why somebody succeeded. Either it's an incredibly rich human insight based on which you built a business, or you had a personal experience. I took my mother to the hospital. I saw my mother suffering like this, so I wanted to build a health system, so that mothers shouldn't suffer. Or I wanted, look at the Zomato, Swiggy, the world, etc. They're all based on an incredibly rich human insight. So if you have an insight and on which you can actually build a business. So if you want to become a cinematographer or a photojournalist or whatever, your ability to kind of look at photojournalism in a different way, and you see there is a purpose to photojournalism in the way that you can contribute to it, and based on which you actually start wanting to build the career, there's a huge world out there which is going to welcome you. There is this very interesting story that I want to take a minute to kind of narrate.
Sure. Please go ahead.
There is this. Some of you would obviously know during the time the aeroplane was discovered, and you all know Wright brothers. All of you know Wright brothers, right? The Orville and Wilbur Wright brothers. And at the same time, when this whole conversation happened about man-powered flight, America was the first country that actually came out and said that, we must also build the plane, and we should be the first country to do it, etc. And they got this guy called Samuel Pierpont Langley. So there's a Langley Airport in America, for those who know. So that's actually named behind this particular gentleman. He was a technocrat, and they kind of got him on board, and they gave him a huge amount of money. He could go to best universities, collect all the students, and they start working. New York Times front page story. This man was 400 miles away from New York. This was happening in New York and Ohio. We had Orville and Wilbur. They had a bicycle shop. They were engineers and a bicycle shop. When they heard the story, they said, if we can contribute to this, the purpose they had is that they said, we can change the course of the world. The world can become so much more beautiful if you're able to kind of contribute to this, right? So they would have probably gone and sat in the coffee shop and had a conversation with people around. They actually got people who thought like them. Cut the long story short, one fine day, they actually took flight overseas, right? And the world came to know 2 days later that they actually flew. And what did Samuel Pierpont Langley do? He quit the job. He quit because he couldn't be the first person to build. He couldn't be successful. So Samuel Pierpont Langley did it for different reasons and different purposes. He wanted to be making money. He wanted to be rich. But Orville and Wilbur wanted to change the course of the world. So when you actually want to do something, much like what I am doing today, you attract the right people. The right kind of people will come to you. The right skill set will come to you. Right people will come to invest in your company, and you will make a success out of that when the purpose is right. You should first know that I want to do this for a particular reason, and then get into it. That's my submission.
So true. And entrepreneurship is the future. There are not going to be many jobs in the years to come. It's going to be project-driven freelancing jobs. So youngsters will have to make up their mind to do project-related work, and you will be paid only project-wise. So, on the entrepreneurship fronts, and you will have to keep acquiring new skills to do those projects and those assignments, and you will get paid for that. The lifelong job story is coming to an end, looks like. Having said that, please.
Samir, to add to that, I think, it won't be wrong for both of us to actually say, when we look at the scenario, that even generalized jobs, you won't be working in one company alone. So, for example, tomorrow look at it, an advocate, a legal person, legal opinion. Correct. I can give a legal opinion to Tata. I can give it to Infosys. I can give it to, Coursera, for example, right? So
Yes.
just imagine the companies actually tell, okay, I want 2 hours of your time. I want 3 hours of your time. I want 5 hours of your time,
Yes.
right? I mean,
Yes.
those kind of stuff also will actually emerge.
That is
Because
already emerging. You are right. It's by pay by work done. It is not
that's
30
right.
days in a month model anymore. You are
Absolutely.
needed hourly, 40 hours in a month you deliver. This is the outcome expected from you, and you do that. And youngsters have a great chance to really get into this kind of a gig economy, because you learn a particular skill, you provide your skill to a company, and you make your money out of that. So freelancing is the future. I will just conclude with a few. I'm aggregating all the Q&A and the chats together for the benefit of students. Otherwise they will feel we have not answered their questions. So many questions, Yesudas, here are upon again about what should I do after graduation? How can I succeed? What is the beauty of cinematography versus sports management? So friends, to put all that things together, now, as we said, you will have to know your calling, your interest area, what you are good at, and this can be known with what kind of readings you do, if any. If not, please start reading. Reading could be in books, it could be on your internet search. Then what is that you like to spend time upon? You like to maybe write, or you like to watch television. So are you into that journalism, PR kind of thing? You used to like to draw before, and now you are creative on Canva, or you like to write blogs or something like that. That gives you insights. You like to watch sports, and you are not a sports person, but you like to keep track of sports, celebrity, Bollywood. That could be one area of career for you. So you will have to map that. You need any help on really finding, we provide free career counseling on what next after graduation. Write at info@yangpo.com, and we will help you. We can do a special session for you. Simran madam, I'm sure, will allow that their students to really engage with us. Secondly, what to do after post graduation. You have to be very, very careful, because I am seeing questions on, I am in my BMM final year, I want to do a course in media entertainment, I am in BCom, and I wanted first to do CA, and now what do I do, and now I like media. So this will be confusing times for you. These are challenging times for everybody. And as youngsters, please understand only one thing. Advice from Yangpo is, now your next qualification in postgrad is going to be your last qualification for many of you, because these are professional courses where you will invest money and really take some serious career choices. So you need to thoroughly understand what lines you want to do. Because this session is on media, entertainment, advertising, we strongly recommend you should go for an integrated program, as we discussed before. That could be online or offline, but integrated program covering all aspects of media and entertainment. Do that, a postgraduate media program for 1 year, and then understand what is your calling. And then you will realize that I am good in the business side of media, or I'm good in the technology side of media, or I'm good in the creative side of media. These are three typical aspects in the world of media. That will give you an understanding. Should I work on the client side as a brand manager, product manager, marketing executive, or should I work at the agency side as a creative writer, copywriter, client servicing? Should I work at the broadcaster side? There are three elements. The broadcasters are typically your YouTube, your Google, your television channels, your newspapers. So that will give you an idea when you go through a very structured program. And there is where any help is needed, please write to us, and we are there for you. With this, I would like to conclude this fantastic, insightful session on impact of COVID on advertising future careers. Thanks a lot, Mr. Yesudas, for giving this overall very general macro perspective on how this industry is going to evolve. What is the role of universities, faculty members, and what students are also expected to do. And thank you very much, Dr. Simran, for hosting such a insightful session and giving the opportunity for students to really get the insights from thought leaders. So thank you very much, and let's be in touch. We will come up with a new session with Khalsa College soon. Thank you very much from Yangpo Executive Education and GN Khalsa College, Bombay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And my
And
offer, Madam.
yes, we will
Yes, so
connect,
that's
and then we'll do that. And Simran madam also will take the lead on bringing you on board at
yeah.
necessary forums. Yes, madam. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.